परिभ्रामितः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये भूरम्भांस्य नलो निलो अम्बर्महर्नार्थो हिमांशुः पुमान् इत्याभाति चराचरात्मकमिदं यस्यैव मूर्त्यष्टकम् नान्यत्किञ्चिन विद्यते विमृशतां यस्मात् परस्मात् विभोः तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये सर्वात्मं पुटीकृतमिदं यस्मात्मुष्मिंस्तवे तेनास्य श्रवणात् तदर्थमननात् ध्यानात् च संकीर्तनात् सर्वात्मत्वविभूतिसहितं स्यादीश्वरत्वं स्वतः सिद्ध्येत्तत्पुनरष्टधा परिणतं चैश्वर्यमव्याहतम्. So let us do this. Does everybody have a piece of paper? Some of the people that came. Shankar, do you have a piece of paper? A small piece of paper? Yeah. So please write your name on it and take a few minutes, maybe maximum of 5. For one question before we start that, was anybody not here at the last 2 classes? When we started the sixth, have you seen okay, so you are familiar with the last 2 classes. So in a few minutes, just write down the following question, answer to the following question. What is the main significance of verse number 6? What is the most important point that verse number 6 makes? So I'd like to, it's not an evaluation of you, but I just wanted to see whether you are getting the message that I think I have it in my mind, but I may not be able to communicate to you. So just answer that one question. And if you just want to take one sentence, that's fine. Couple of sentences, that's fine also. Okay. So you could just, if you're done, just, either pass it on. I'd like to just see it, to see what you think. But let's just talk a little bit about that. Anyone, tell me what do you remember as being the most important part of the verse number 6? What is unique about the verse 6? There's something unique about all of these verses, and we should recognize it and see it. Yes, Kalpana?
3 stages.
It examines the Sat or the existence of Atma by analyzing the Jagrat, Sushupti and dream
Right.
avastha. And it kind of says that just like an eclipse takes a bite out of a moon or a sun,
Right.
and it feels like it is hidden, but in fact because of Jnana or Maya,
Okay.
the Atma is hidden, but actually it is self-effulgence.
Yeah.
It's never hidden.
Anyone else that has a different way of looking at it?
It's almost like, what we learned in the Mandukya Upanishad, the sleep state. So the sleep state is that of eternal bliss, because you don't have any other thing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing. But unfortunately, although we're supposed to be aware that we are only
Well,
that
that's a
self,
separate thing. So, but
Yeah,
you
but-
stated that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we
we
talked
can't,
about the 3 stages.
Anyone else?
if we can
Yes.
realize that, we will fine.
Yeah.
It talks about Buddhism, their belief. and-
Right. Those things were all there. I'm just looking at the central
but
one.
Main is the
I think,
Ashish?
Atmanitya Satta.
I think that the creation itself is not an ultimate state of reality. It says it very clear, although it's alluded to before, I think
Yeah.
it says it clearly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I think it just says that, just like Rahu eclipses sun and the moon, although nothing happens to them, your Atma is also, nothing happens to it, it is eclipsed
Okay,
during your
all
deep
right.
sleep. That's really
Yes,
It talks about the 3 stages.
Vibha, sorry,
I'm
you,
sorry.
go ahead.
Talks about the 3 stages, the deep sleep, dream state and wake state, and that consciousness is always there.
Good, okay. Vibha?
Ultimate happiness, like your mind and your physical body can be there, cannot be there, but your Atma is always there, and it is untouched, unlimited when you are in
Yeah,
deep sleep.
good, okay.
Just as like you were saying, the Rahu and Ketu cover the sun and the moon,
Mm-hmm.
our life events, Nama, Rupa, all those things cover the Atma. The realization of that happens when you wake up in the morning and realize that
Okay.
you were there, and that realization
Good.
is what I am saluting.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Atma Sadrupam.
Yeah. So I think you're all very close, but not exactly. The central point is this, and Krishna, I think, came closest to saying that. The uniqueness of this verse is to establish the experience that I am. And this is best possible in the deep sleep state. So the other states, as many of you have mentioned, the 3 states and so on, are also available to analyze, but not in this verse. It's elsewhere, and it's not as though those are not true. They are definitely true. But the uniqueness about this verse is the pure pramanam. This is what has to be focused in, and we will go into this today in more detail, but I just want to start with that. That the central point is that you need the deep sleep state to establish Atma Sat. Because, in fact, let me ask you another question. I would not have you take out another piece of paper. Okay? But just to, really, if I were to ask you, what is the uniqueness of our dream experience? So let's just talk about that for a minute. What would you say? What is unique? It has, like many of you have said, and very correctly really, that there are many different things. The fact that like the Rahu cuts it together, and the fact that Atma stays, all those are absolutely correct. But I think if I were to look at a single point, if I were to say, give me the top 5, then all of you would be absolutely correct. But if I were to ask you which is the single most thing about this verse, and that is the experience of one being there, and we'll explain this more later on, what do you mean by one being there and all that, is best possible in the deep sleep. So similarly there, let me ask you, what is the singular most important contribution of our dream experience?
That it is unreal and it comes out of myself and goes back into myself.
Isn't it? So the establishment of mithyatvam, of the, what do you mean by a lesser reality? It is a reality, but not as good a reality as the Jagrat Avastha, isn't it? This is where we have to see the gradations of reality. Because sometimes, when you add the word mithya, you say, this is a nice word, and you set it aside, and you don't really think about how it really affects your life. The fact of the matter is that we have identification with various levels of reality in our life. And as you know, I'm just expanding on the dream state, just on that for a minute. So as you know, we have various realities in our life. So some realities are totally not shared with anyone. I have my own peculiar ideas about, for example, how I look, how people evaluate me. This is all my private thing, and sometimes totally wrong. People sometimes think that the world doesn't like me, when in fact that is not true. So this is what is called pratibhasika sat. So this is one level of reality. Reality means that even people that are bipolar or depressed, you cannot say that they are making things up. That's how they look at things, that's how their realities appear to them. But that reality is really easily dismissible. All you have to do is to go to a psychiatrist, take some drugs, and that reality is gone. But then there are other levels of reality. And so really how we think about the world, how our conclusions are about my experiences and so on, this is what is called vyavaharika sat, transactional reality, is also a reality, but not the ultimate reality. And until we know the reality, ultimate reality, we cannot tell that this is really not as real as the other one. And so the contribution of the dream state is that it teaches you to evaluate a lower level of reality. Mithyatvam. That is the correct. And now contrasted to that, deep sleep state, in fact, is so the dream state is a tool to say what the real reality is not. See, it's a tool to mithyatva means that to see that it is a relative reality. It's a tool to say that this isn't it. Something else is real. But what the something else real is, the dream doesn't tell you. Doesn't tell you. The deep sleep comes a lot closer to it. That is the central part of the 6th verse. And so really this is why the very wise commentators bring out the central themes of these things. So when Maheshananji said that Atma Sat, this is the central theme that we have to extract out of it. And then we saw why that is the case, how that is the case. And so that means that central part is now embellished and supported by other arguments which are still going on. We are not finished yet, but there the most important argument is the continuity. In fact, that is a very important thing that also is as somebody mentioned, that the thinking about the Buddhism and so on is not to criticize Buddhism, but to understand, look at the creation of Ishvara. Because in Ishvara's creation, you need both similarity and differences. And the differences are mithya and the similarity is real and not realized. What a creation. My goodness, you should just imagine what a master creation this is. Really speaking, you cannot experience anything unless you have similarity and differences. And in fact, this is what we say to the Buddhists. We tell them, they say that every thought is unrelated to the previous one. There's a new one, old one thought goes, and a new one comes. When that one goes, a new one comes. And they are all comes together, and they mix together and look like it's real. But nothing is real. Nothing is real. But what happens is that, when we grow up in our lives, we remain the same. We also are different. I am the same one. I am the one who was a child. It's not as though there was a different person who was a child. I'm the same person. I'm the same person that goes to sleep and the same person that wakes up. But every day is different. So we have dissimilarity imposed on similarity. Oneness actually, not even similarity, but oneness. So this is the argument where the Atma Sat in the deep sleep is the central theme, and we support it by lots of different arguments and experiences and so on. And so here, as we briefly mentioned in last class, the pratyabhigya is the combination of memory and experience, smriti and anubhava. So we are going to spend a little bit more time on this. This is a very interesting, a very important concept that we should think about. Okay. And this was really pointed out by Swami Maheshananji in one of the series of explanations of Panchadashi, chapter 6 and 7. And so I'm extracting out of that and applying it to at this point in time. So what Swami Vidyaranya said and what Swami Maheshananji explained so well is the word experience, anubhava. Anubhava. Anubhava means an experience. That's exactly, this is the same, very accurate translation of Anubhava is experience. Okay? So now what happens is that life is a series of experiences. Right? Series of experiences. And our focus is on the series of experiences. Good, bad, uncertain, neutral, very bad. We have lots of different ways to evaluate the various experiences, but this is what we all have. And also to be noticed is that every living creature in the world has a life consisting of experiences. It's common to everyone. The nature of the experience is all different. But they're all experiences. So the experience of a bug is different from your and my experience, but it's also an experience. And our lives are really nothing but a series of experiences. That's what life is. And at the end of the life, I now depart from it. My experience appears to cease, to go away, and I might die. Okay? But it should be seen that the experiences cease every night. Every night. So what this verse is saying, and so well explained by Swami Maheshananji in his commentary and so on, that life equals anubhava. So when you say life, this was on before. Then it, I think, got shut off. So I think that, let me see if this is, it didn't catch. Yeah, it's not syncing. I thought it was on, so it would automatically sync. So let me cancel it and do it one more time. Oops. Sorry, I'm having so many problems with this. Ah, there we go. Okay. Oh, good. And so this is, and so when we talk about experiences, then we don't think much about, so we are we are talking about different experiences. This is what happens. People will say, "How was your weekend?" And this is a very difficult question for me to answer, really. I do not remember. I have no idea. In fact, my son just yesterday, he says, "Dad, what did you do this weekend?" And I had to figure out, what did I do this weekend? I could not remember anything. I could teach a class in the morning, then I go work out and so on and so forth. Anyway, so it is nothing but a transaction on experiences. And now pay attention to the fact that what we pay attention to is what experience we are having. And during the day and dream, we are having experiences. So, I don't know if I could draw a picture, but it's kind of like this is an experience. And from there, we have various experiences that happen. But here is the thing to see. All these experiences go back to a common experience for everybody. This goes back to life. This is the Atma. Atma is in the form of a uniform experience. So you have various experiences that kind of arise from it, like sun flares, and go back to it. But going back to it, we do not think about. We don't think about it until this attention is asked for us to look into it. And what you find is that you are of the nature of a non-form experience. You are just the very nature of an experience. That's it. That is Brahman. That is the Atma. It is a common, the whole life is made up of a unchanging experience that has changes that come up and dissolve in it. Come up and dissolve in it. This is the experience. So we are the very nature of experience, but with some form from time to time. And then, in the deep sleep state, the forms are all gone. Even during the daytime, even during the waking and so on, we also have formless experience. When you don't have any thoughts, and you don't have any body consciousness. Those are moments, but they are much fewer. But Ishvara at night time has given you the direct experience of your own experience, of Ishvara's experience. We really merge with Ishvara. And that is, you just are. And if someone were to, as some of the verses in the Manasa Ullasa will go, we will cover some of them very quickly, but I just wanted to give you the central point. If someone challenges this, then how do you know that you are the same? You cannot function if you are not the same person. You are the person who had the experience. You are the one who went to night time. You know that very well. Cannot have a different one. It's not just the night time. Our life will not be functional if you keep on changing. Every person changes every minute. Not possible. It's idiotic ideas that the people come up with. Swami Maheshananji was was saying that, you know, what does he say? It was very interesting. Yeah. In Hindi he says, Naveenta ki khoj. Naveenta ki khoj means that, really speaking, you have religions that are formed because of being an ego that I want to start something new. No one has done that before. I want to start something new. And then you find, you collect a few people, you impress them, and whether it is true or not is forgotten. Everybody else is also looking, but you are able to do this, and you give them some peace and so on and so forth, and then you become big wise person. And Swami Maheshananji says that, you know, if you look at a vulture, the vulture soars above everything else. A very interesting thing. They look around and they soar about everybody else. And then eventually they settle on the dirtiest thing in the whole creation, which is a dead body. So Swamiji says, I find that many of these religions, he was just focusing on Buddhism for this, on this particular verse, are exactly like this. They soar about everybody else. But when they actually catch hold of the principle, it has no value in it whatsoever. It is just empty of any value. So he says, this is so stupid. Instead, please think about the yukti for the shruti, that the whole life is nothing but in the form of your nature is anubhava. This is a new way of looking at it, really. It's just a description, but it's a very interesting way to look at it. It's not, you see, this is the thing. It's not as though you are someone who has a new experience. You see, so suppose you were to define, I had a new experience. Oh, really? You had a new experience? Yes. So before you had the new experience, what were you? Oh, I don't know, but I just had a new experience. So if you analyze this, there is a person with an experience already. Nothing, the whole life is nothing but an experience. Series, not even a series, it's just an experience. So it is very much like a lump of gold that becomes ornaments and then goes back again. It's a very beautiful creation. But ultimately, everyone is the one experience, which is Atma. Atma is in the form of, you can call it, because if you call it an experience, it looks like there needs to be two of them. You know, you need to, what are you experiencing? You are different from the experience. In one of the verses, I believe it is the, I haven't come to that point, but if you look at, you can make a note of it. In the Manasa Ullasa, verse number 22, okay, on 22, this issue is talked about. That means that if you have an experience, then you must be different from an experience. Who are you that different from an experience? So here the answer is that if you are different from a sun, then you can say that I was covered by the clouds and I saw the sun, and therefore it was covered, and therefore I did not see the sun on a particular day. That's appropriate. But if you are the sun, this is actually a very interesting argument that is discussed in the Shastra. So we have within the Hinduism, Vaishnavas, you know, our friends Vaishnava Parivara that we were thinking of going to. Now we are just staying downstairs for Swami Tattvavidananda's classes. So Vaishnavas, Shaivas and so on. So this I had known even before, but Swami Maheshananji made it very clear. So Vaishnavas say that Vedanta is not very useful. Vedanta doesn't make any sense. Why not? Because you need to have the experience of God. You need to have Vishnu experience. So what they say is, I don't want to be Vishnu, I want to experience Vishnu. I want to see the love of Vishnu. I know how if I am Vishnu, then I cannot see the love of Vishnu. So we say, we understand you're looking for Ananda, but you think that the Vishnu is not Ananda? Are you saying that the sun is not lighted already? Of course it is lighted. So what they say is that if I want the sweetness of sugar. I don't want to be sugar. This is the argument. I'm telling you, this is well discussed. If you talk to these, I haven't, but if you talk to some dyed-in-the-wool Vaishnava, this is the argument they will give. That really, that you want to experience the sweetness of sugar, you don't want to become sugar. So we say, listen, if sugar has some consciousness for a minute, let's pretend, you think that it doesn't enjoy its own sweetness? So therefore, we can say, in all of this this is all defined in verse number 22, that the experience doesn't need to have a different experience. The very experience itself is very pleasant. This is the point that he's making. So this is an important thing for us to see. You should see that, so when you say sanmatra, so, Rahu grasta divankarendu sadrisha, sanmatra, what is it, the second? Rahu grasta divankarendu sadrisha.
Maya samachara.
Mayas, no. What is the second line?
Sanmatra karano.
Sanmatra, it starts with sanmatra. Sanmatra karanopasamanata. Sanmatra means, in the deep sleep, I don't have experience of anything. I am the very experience. I am. Not I need to have something, I am. And so this is the experience, that I am the very nature of the experience. Yes, there are modifications and so on, but I don't disappear. I am experience all the time. I am. And this experience is not born. It's always there. It is the whole creation. It is the very nature of the whole creation. This is the thing. So here, one very interesting example of this. So just look at this. So it is said, and this is a important verse that we will take some time. Anyway, it doesn't, I think we don't have time to do that. I'll do that some other time. This is the thing. So suppose you mistake a rope for a snake, our typical example. Okay? So, here, let's go back to this one here. So this is, let's say, the rope. And this can be a garland. or this could be a hose, this could be a snake, and so on and so forth. All kinds of things, some different things and so on. So in this experience, you say this is its rope, or this is a snake. Okay, these are the two different interpretations of this, or could be any one of the other ones that I mentioned. This is a garland, this is a hose, etc., etc. Okay. In this evaluation, there are two things. One is this, and one is what is this? So this is, so even a person that makes a mistake and says this is a snake, that person also has two different things mixed into one. One is this, and the other one is it's a snake. Okay? So what that means is that this is the anubhava, which is common to everything. This. But what the anubhava is can be different. You see, this is the point. So this in Sanskrit this is called ayam, and in fact this is where this verse comes in. This is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and this is the first verse of the 7th chapter of Panchadashi, called Tripti Deep Prakaranam. And there is a huge, beautiful explanation of what is Tripti. Tripti means a sense of satisfaction. All is well with me. What are the elements of it? So there it says that if a person should understand that I am nothing but an unchanging Purusha, I am iti Purusha. Here it is, instead of Purusha, it is long E. Anyway, we'll take it some other time. Then you have no other desires to change. You have reached the ultimate. So in this analysis, I am, this means the I am. So I am in Sanskrit is called this. So this is common. This is common. You are seeing the shape of a rope, but you are misinterpreting it as a snake or something else. So similarly, at this point, we are the same unchanging, formless experience as you have in the nighttime. No change. But you have added on to it a interpretation which is wrong. You see, so I am, as long as you understand, you see, this is the thing. We are so anxious for experiences that it becomes very important for me, what experience do I have? I don't pay any attention to the fact that I am the very nature of an unchanging experience. This I don't, it does nothing for me. Because it doesn't really it doesn't do anything good for me. I need to have some experience, and from that experience I evaluate who I am. When in fact, fundamentally you don't need any external experience to evaluate yourself. You are an experience, unchanging, and we will see another thing which we can even bring in now. You remember the question I asked, what is the most important thing, or the verse number 6, you all answered, I think, very well, that it is the deep sleep. So to go back to it, the fundamental thing that the verse 6 does is to say you don't need any experiences to be what you are. Sat Swarupa. And now there is another corollary to it which is just as important. Very important. There is also that you can draw from it, which is the deep sleep state. And I mentioned this to you in the last couple of classes, what Swami Dayanandji had told us and so on. I'll remind you of it. The second thing that this verse provides, and in fact if this doesn't provide, it will come back to it at some other time, but it will point out that the deep sleep tells me that I am the nature of joy. See, the first thing it tells me is that so the deep sleep, as I mentioned to you before, has been extremely carefully designed for the Vedantins to understand who they are, to reach Ishvara. So the first thing, before I go back to joy, the first thing you should understand from that is, what is the nature of my unchanging being? Who am I? Sat Swarupoham. And no other experience can prove it as well as deep sleep. Because you have no experience to bother you. Because anytime we have an outside experience, it arrests my attention and I'm not able to look at myself. But in the deep sleep state, you have the experience of experience, if I can say that. Unchanging and so on. So the Sat Swarupam is the first lesson of deep sleep that is brought out in verse number 6. Now the second one. It means that the deep sleep teaches me, should teach me. I don't learn, unfortunately, but it teaches me that my own Swarupa is Ananda. It's very similar to the experience thing. So what happens is that when I am awake, a pleasant experience, here are the elements of looking for a pleasant experience. The first element is that I am not a pleasant experience. I need to get coupled with a pleasant experience, isn't it? Because if you are what you are seeking, you are not going to have any desire to do anything in life. You'll be okay the way it is. But no, that's not the case. I'm very busy. Very busy. You ask somebody, so what are you doing? Oh, I got to go do here. Why are you doing that? I don't know, I think that'll be fun. We are constantly, always looking for a pleasant experience. So in looking for a pleasant experience, it just means that I am not the pleasant experience. And so it is very clear that my nature is looking for some kind of a contact with something that will give me the pleasant experience. The deep sleep negates that completely. what contact do you have? No contact. And it is the most pleasant experience of your whole life. Swami Maheshanjiji pointed out here, he says, this is, by the way, if you want to make a note of this, this is the subject of verse number 21 of the Manasa Ullasa. So what I will plan to do is that I will go through all the Manasa Ullasa verses quickly, conceptually. And then when you have time, you can actually read those verses and bring out the concepts from it. And I'm doing it not in a sequence, but anyway. So here, so the verse number 21 says, verse number 21 says a lot of things. An important verse, and I'll cover all of them while I'm on the subject of verse number 21. So, but one of the things it says is that there is no other way to understand that my nature is Ananda except for deep sleep. This is how important the deep sleep creation is. This is a blessing by Ishvara. The deep sleep itself is a blessing, but to understand the importance of deep sleep is a great blessing. How? Very obvious that we may desire anything else in life. Nothing is as important for a human being. Animals don't have to worry about it because this is a very strange thing. I don't understand how the birds can go to sleep standing up. Ishvara is just amazing. Can you and I go to sleep by standing up? We can't. But if you look at a bird, I don't think I need to look at them at night time actually, as one interesting thing. I don't know if they hang upside down or anything. They just close their eyes, I guess, and they're still clinging on to the branch. And Ishvara has given them some kind of a blessing. There they go to sleep. They also go to sleep, no doubt about it. And even plants go to sleep. But certainly human beings. So coming back to human beings, Swami Maheshananji has pointed this out. He says, can you believe, no matter how good an experience a person may have, nothing compares to going to sleep. And if you don't believe it, you try to deprive someone of a good night's sleep and see how cranky the person becomes the next day. I see this all the time where people will say, you know what, tonight I'm going to take a sleeping pill. Really? Why? I've had 2 or 3 very bad nights and I couldn't sleep very well and I can't stand it anymore. I don't like to take sleeping pills, but tonight I'm going to do it. This everyone dislikes it. And we make our pillows so nice, and the temperature and the fan and air conditioning and so on and so forth. Why? Because, Swami Maheshanji says that if a person has a nice family and they love each other and they're nice talking and so on, there comes a point and he says, well, you know what, I'm going to leave you all. If you love somebody so much, why do you want to leave them? But they leave them for the sake of deep sleep. And so this is number 1. Number 2, so number 1 means that this is the most attractive thing for everyone. Number 2, the formless experience that you get, this is called, in fact, you know what? You can say that some people ask, what is Advaita? What do you mean by Advaita? Deep sleep is Advaita. Deep sleep is Advaita. And it's just that you don't know what Advaita is. So you come out saying it is Dvaita. But really speaking, the deep sleep is Advaita. And Advaita is the most pleasant thing in my life. This I should understand. I don't need to have experiences and contacts and accomplishments. We need to have that. I remember when I was telling you this, that when Swamiji pointed this out, that really made a big impression very early on when I met him, when he said this. And so this is an important thing. So the second most important thing is that the deep sleep teaches us that the nature of myself is Ananda. I don't need to do anything in order to be happy, because my nature is happiness. I am not different. I am the very nature of experience, and a very pleasant experience. So here in verse number 21, this is what I was saying. Swami Maheshananji said, now you've covered the whole gamut of things in the deep sleep. Why? Because you know that you are, without any confirmation or anything, you are. Sat Swarupoham. Number one. So Sat is covered. Ananda is covered for just this argument that we just gave. So the third thing that is left is Jnanam, knowledge. And so there it says that Anubhava is of the nature of Jnanam. Anubhava is the nature of Jnana. So the Anubhava and the fact that my awareness are not two different things. It's the same thing. It's just that the Jnanam is covered by Atma Jnanam, that I am the very nature. That hasn't been cleared yet. That will become clear. But even before it is clear, it is the nature of Jnanam alone. So now, all three bases are covered. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Satchid Anandaha. And so if we look at the three basic needs of all living beings, they are, I want to be, and I want to be happy, and I want to be forever. All three of them are covered, and all three of them are repeatedly given to you without your asking, as a gift from Ishvara. And Ishvara says, please pay attention to this. It is your own rejection of who you are that creates all the problems in your life. You don't need to. You don't need to do. You don't need to accomplish anything. No, I've got to do PhD, and after that I'll become this, then I've got to make money, then I've got to do this. Fine, do it if you want to, but you're just imprisoning yourself. Because I remember that, I think I was telling you this, that when I was working, I had a job with IBM in India. This is in 1970. And I had a brand new car that they gave me, and a very good job with IBM. And I would sit in the back seat, and the driver would be driving me, and I would look for some work to do and so on. and once in a while there'll be a red light, and there will be people standing next to me in on bicycles, and there will be a person riding the bicycle and the person sitting behind him, and they were having a time of their life, laughing away with whatever, I don't, slapping their hands, and I used to say, my goodness, I am not that happy. I've got a work to do, and I'm worried about things and so on. And this guy, I don't know what he does, but he looked like he's just a peon or, nothing big from his clothes. And he seems to be very happy. That all really started my, there's something wrong with this picture. Because accomplishments are not happy, it's not happiness. It's a completely different thing altogether. So this is a pointing out to the right direction. That listen, and Swami Dayananji also say that. He says, what have you accomplished at night time? Nothing. And you are the happiest. So this verse is all about deep sleep. This you remember, please. And it has a lot of other arguments that it gives, and this, that, or the other. But that is the central theme of verse number 6, which is the utility of analyzing my experiences, that I am the very experience-less experience at night time. So with that I'll close. So I will go over the Manasa Ullasa verses which I was planning to do today, but we have covered two of them, 22 and 21. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and it has 32 altogether. I was thinking that today will be the last class on verse number 6, but I decided to talk more about the word Anubhava and just kind of evoke your questions as to what is the main purpose of verse number 6. So we will do it for at least another day and possibly even two before we round off verse number 6. So with that, I close the class. Om Masato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Yeah,
My question
Ashish.
is,
Oh, yours. Okay.
so I am the sugar.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble is I can't taste it.
Yeah.
So I am in a deep sleep state. But how to bring that state into consciousness in the other two states so
Well,
that we can
There's
realize
still some
that's
more
what we-
classes to go. I'm happy with you. That's good.
That's what we are.
I mean, that's what the whole thing is all about, and yeah, of course, we will tackle all of that. That's a basic question. Sorry, Ashish, you had a question.
So, I mean, logically, one would think, and I don't think that's the right answer, but one would think that your whole sadhana then should be focused toward maximizing your deep sleep experience. Meaning you want to sleep all the time. Obviously, that's not a
Yeah.
correct answer. So, how do you get around that?
So it's the same question that she asked. And so what you find is that with the teaching, you will understand that, and I mentioned it already, that the deep sleep experience is even now, but it seems to be covered by a false notion that I am not happy. So it is exactly like looking at a rope but misinterpreting it. So just because you think it is a snake doesn't mean the rope has turned into a snake. The rope always stays as a rope, but it is misinterpreted as, and therefore you don't see the rope, you only see the vision of the snake. But similarly, at this point in time, I am already full. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. I'm already Purnaha. Same Purnaha that I am in the deep sleep. But I am, for whatever reason, and the reason is ignorance, self-ignorance, I don't appreciate it. But we will appreciate it. When you appreciate it, then you will find that the living aspects of life don't bother me. The fact that I have a body, etc., it will just not be that important. My focus will be on my consciousness, who I am. And right now that focus is missing. I don't think about it. I don't understand how to appreciate it. If I just take some steps, but it doesn't really sustain itself, all of those things are there. And so the experience of deep sleep will go into all the three states of experience. And there you find, it's just that the deep sleep is where all the ornamentation is gone and you're just looking at yourself as a lump of gold, as though. But when you have and so what happens is that when you wake up, you are now inundated by the forms of the ornaments, and you don't appreciate that you are the very gold. You are always the gold. And so once the knowledge is communicated and you absorb it with nididhyasanam, you will see that the experience of fullness and non-changingness in deep sleep will also inhere in the waking state also. So that's kind of like the process that we will go through. Yeah.
So what we call jiva, is it a collection of all other experiences?
Collection of all other experiences means what did you mean by that?
In my waking state, I forget
Right.
the underlying experience.
Correct.
And I collect many more experiences. Do those make up together what we call jiva?
Well, let me just answer it another way, and that is that when you don't understand that you are the very basis of all experiences, that you are the very experience, then you now have to, you are someone. So you have to take yourself to be someone. If you don't know who you are, it's just like the thing is that if you don't know what a rope is, then you make some evaluation as to, some wrong evaluation, but some evaluation. So similarly, the jiva also, not knowing that he is the very adhisthana for everything, I am the very common experience, then I have a history. And so that history is, everybody has his own history. And so that history gives us the chance to become either a male or a female, and we have a history of our thoughts, our accomplishments, and we are always surrounded by that. So my evaluation is that of a jiva with its own history. It's like a wave of the ocean that is unique. Okay? And all this time it is pointless, because really the uniqueness is, there's only one uniqueness, which is that you are the water, which is the unchanging experience. But I don't get it. Why don't I get it? Because that's the nature of Maya, that's the nature of ignorance. So I am now deeply entrenched in having an alternate reality, which consists of Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira and Karana Sharira. And I stay within that. And so this is kind of like how imagining who I am. And this will continue until it gets resolved. and it doesn't stop it at the end of the life, because of the next life I maintain the same my false identity, and I'm still creating a lot of alternate thoughts and so on and so forth. I'm still dreaming. So that's kind of like the process that we
So if we go back historically, they always say, like in the Christianity, they say everything was perfect until the snake bit Eve, with Adam, and then the falsehood came. In now Puranas, they say when God was created, there were those four people, Sanatans, they were all perfect, and the world couldn't go on. Then the God had to create some sort of a whale, or call it Maya, so that the world could go on. Otherwise, everybody would realize who they were. And
No, this is not.
there's the creations, there's the creativity.
No, it's always been there. It's not as though the God said, oops, we don't have Maya, we got to do some problems.
No,
No.
but they didn't say that all the four that he created, they all became perfect right away. They realized who they were.
No, because that is because their previous samskaras were so good that they themselves had no problems. They were just like avatars. And all of us have a chance to be like that. And so they were very evolved beings. They were like rishis in that manner. So yeah, so that is all possibility. But it's not as though Maya was created later on after the perfect. No, we don't do that.
So why did this creation happen that way?
There's no creation. There is no creation.
We're all not here.
There's no creation. No, we are here, but in a non-real way. So like if you were to see the ocean, do you want to have an ocean with absolutely not a single wave anywhere? It's possible, I guess, but then the fun is to see some. And so when did the ocean get created? It's always been that way. And so the whole thing is nothing. So and if one of the individual waves has a problem and he says, I'm very...
And the bigger wave, yeah. No, because I have to give these sort of interfaith talks.
Yeah, I would not go to interfaith thoughts.
No,
It
I have
doesn't,
to hear the speaker. So
No, it does, because you don't really have a chance to properly explain. People don't have the time. You don't have the knowledge to do that. It's a waste of time. I've done all of that. No reason to do it. No reason to do it. It's all very shallow, and they cut each other up, and ultimately they all smile at you and say, what a foolish person. What does it mean? There's no creation. You won't understand it. So why do all of that? It's a total waste of time, really. We're not going to try to convert anybody,
no,
and that's not what our thing. Others may want to do that, so they should go to interfaith theater. That's wonderful. But the Hindus, that's why we don't, there's no reason to do all of that. Anyway, Kalpana?
I thought in Sushupti we are in Ajnana. So how is the Sushupti Anubhava Jnana?
Yeah, you are covered by Ajnanam. So what does that mean? I'm sorry, say that question one more time.
I mean, I've always heard that we are in ignorance during Sushupti, right?
Correct.
So, but you said that Anubhava, I mean, we covered Sat and Ananda, and the third thing is Jnanam. That is
Yeah,
also
so
covered
no,
by
what it
Sushupti.
means is that you have, it is the form of an Anubhava. So you see, that's an interesting thing, that the Anubhava is in the form of Jnanam. But there, the Jnanam is of nothing, not even yourself. So it is covered by Ajnanam. So Ajnanam means that it is Chit Swarupam. So you see, when you have ignorance, that is also a thought. You see? So the other two don't cover that. The other two cover Sat and Ananda. But there is also a Chit Swarupam. So Anubhava is a Chit Swarupam, even though it is Ajnana Chit Swarupam. It's Ajnana Chit Swarupa. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it is, so Jnanam there just means consciousness. Yeah, that's
I know
all.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Right,
that,
I know that.
yeah, exactly. It's a long I don't know. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, Arvind? Yeah.
So, we did discuss about basic needs of human, like I want to be, right, which is a sub. Then I want to be happy.
Correct.
And the third one is I want to be happy forever.
Forever, yes.
So, the second one, I want to be happy, does it mean Jnanam, Satyam?
No, it's Ananda. It's Ananda.
No, then I want to, then we are missing one thing. Satyam, Jnanam.
Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So Anantam or Anandam is the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Anandam and Anantam. So Jnanam means the awareness, that Chit.
Oh,
That-
no, that's true, but somehow I wrote it this way. So I was missing chit part in
Okay.
English translation.
Okay, okay. Yeah, this is an interesting thing to equate Ananda with Ananta.
Yeah.
And the two ultimately are the same. That means unlimitedness. Because any stoppage of Ananda is due to limitedness. And so unlimitedness, infinity is really the
Anandam is
ultimate.
Anantam.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we'll see you next week. Thank you.